She handed him the check with a nervous smile, but inside it was more than the bill. It was a handwritten note. And when the restaurant owner read what his waitress wrote, he dropped his fork mid-bite and sat frozen. In that moment, everything changed. What had started as a secret visit turned into something far deeper than he ever expected. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, comment, share with someone who needs hope today. Subscribe our channel Kindness Talks for more real-life inspired emotional stories. Jacob Merrick wasn't your typical restaurant owner. At 43, he had built his success not from polished degrees or inheritance, but from scraped knees, sleepless nights, and one tiny taco stand he ran out of a rusted truck. Over 2 decades, he'd built Merrick's Place into a local gem, a cozy, family-style restaurant tucked between the steel towers of downtown Chicago. But lately, something in the place had changed. Complaints had trickled in. The warmth was fading. Some loyal customers stopped coming. And so, Jacob made a decision: he would go undercover. No suits. No staff knowing. Just him, a hoodie, a fake reservation under the name Mark Dorsey, and a quiet table in the corner. It was a rainy Wednesday when Jacob walked in unnoticed. The hostess, a teenager named Kayla, greeted him with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. She was polite, but distracted. A toddler cried at a corner table while a couple near the window argued over cold food. Jacob scanned the place. The lighting still held that old glow, but the soul? Something felt off. That's when she approached. "Hi, I'm Emily. I'll be your server today," she said, her voice soft but kind. She was in her mid-20s, hair tied back loosely, dark circles under her eyes, but her smile was genuine, the kind that people don't fake, even when they're exhausted. Jacob watched her work the floor, carrying plates with precision, checking in with customers, even managing a spilled drink with grace. She moved like someone who cared, but carried something heavy. When she returned with his drink, she asked, "First time here?" Jacob hesitated, then nodded. "Yeah. Place looks nice." She smiled faintly. It was even better a few months ago. That line stuck with him. Dinner went on. He ordered his own signature dish, rosemary roast chicken with honey-glazed carrots. It was good, but not great. Something was missing. Maybe it was the seasoning. Maybe it was the heart. When the meal ended, Emily returned with the check. She looked nervous, almost hesitant, as she placed it in front of him. "Thanks for coming. I hope your evening was okay." Jacob noticed her fingers lingered a second too long on the bill folder. She quickly turned away and busied herself at another table. He opened the folder, expecting just the receipt. But instead, tucked inside, was a folded piece of notebook paper. On the outside, it read, "If you're the owner, please read this when you're alone. I beg you." His chest tightened. He paid the bill, left a generous tip, and walked out into the rain with the note unopened, unsure of what to expect. He sat in his car under the street lamp, hands shaking slightly, and finally opened the note. It read, "Dear Mr. Merrick, I know I might lose my job for this, but I had to try. Something is going very wrong here, and no one will listen to someone like me. I love this restaurant. It saved me once. I'm trying to save it now. Please, read this carefully. The truth inside may hurt, but it might be the only way we fix what's broken." Jacob read the first few lines of what became the most gut-wrenching, honest confession he'd seen in years. And as the rain tapped softly against his windshield, he realized Emily knew things even he didn't. Jacob didn't sleep that night. He stayed in his apartment reading every word of Emily's letter over and over again. It wasn't just a complaint, it was a detailed, passionate account of how Merrick's place had slowly turned toxic behind the scenes. Emily described how the new shift manager, Mason, whom Jacob had hired only 6 months ago, had been bullying staff, cutting corners, watering down sauces to save cost, and threatening employees who tried to speak up. She wrote about how Kayla, the young hostess, had once run to the bathroom crying because Mason screamed at her for misplacing a reservation. How the head chef, Maria, had her overtime erased from payroll twice. How regular customers were starting to notice, but staff were too afraid to speak up. Emily even included a heartbreaking line, "I know I'm just a waitress. But this place mattered to me when nothing else did. I used to come here with my mom every Friday until cancer took her. I applied here after she passed because this restaurant felt like home. Please don't let it rot from the inside." Jacob was stunned. He felt shame. Guilt. How had he missed this? He had trusted Mason to manage operations while he focused on a new location opening in Seattle. But in doing so, he had unknowingly let rot settle into the very heart of what he'd built. The next morning, Jacob showed up before anyone else. By noon, he had confronted Mason, who, under pressure, broke down and admitted most of it. Staff watched in awe as Mason was fired on the spot. But Jacob didn't stop there. He called a full team meeting, asked everyone to stay after hours, and stood before them not as their boss, but as someone humbled. "I was blind," he began. "I thought success was expansion. But I forgot what made this place special. You. All of you. I've read Emily's note. And I owe you more than apologies. I owe you trust, respect, and a new beginning." The room was quiet. And then, a slow clap started. Kayla. Then Maria. Then all of them. Later that week, Jacob promoted Emily, not just to floor supervisor, but as someone who would have direct access to him. "You cared when I didn't," he told her. "Now, help me care again." She didn't cry. But her eyes shimmered. Weeks passed, and Merrick's place transformed. The energy returned. Customers felt the warmth again. Staff smiled like they meant it. And on a busy Friday night, Jacob sat at his old favorite booth watching the place come alive. Emily passed by, tray in hand, and paused to grin. "You still pretending to be a customer?" she teased. He laughed. "No. Just a proud witness." But deep down, he knew, she wasn't just a waitress. She was the heart of the place now. Sometimes, the loudest truths are whispered by the quietest people. And real leaders? They're the ones who listen.